So we are Jo and Lyndall from the Listening Project, and we wanted to reach out both to each other and to our community on a 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, because it's been such a big week, not just here in Australia, which is where the Listening Project is based, but obviously around the world. And this is something that we do regularly, not as regularly as we would like, but it is one of the things that we do to stabilise ourselves and our clients in our work. And Lyndall can talk about her work in a moment. My focus at the moment is in leadership and organisational development. So at the moment, I'm helping a lot of really anxious people, particularly in the aged care sector, who are dealing with change that is, really raw, and it's at the coalface. It's right, it's in their hands. So I am noticing a lot of anxiety, fear, frustration, confusion, bewilderment in my day-to-day work, and I thought it would be useful for us to check in with each other about what we're seeing, how we're working with it, and what is most useful. That's me. Lyndall, what about you?
So I'm a psychotherapist in private practice. I also do leadership and team building work in a number of different organisations, and I also work as a confidant to a number of executives. And so I'm receiving information in relation to the impact of COVID-19 from all sorts of different angles, and experiencing a range of people's emotions in response to what's happening. And fundamentally, my concern at the moment is the degree of anxiety that's existing in the world at the moment, and that's manifesting in all sorts of different and difficult ways for people. I'm seeing people come in, the usual starting point is, I'm not worried about getting sick, but I'm trying to work out why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. I'm trying to work out whether I should be worried, whether I should be self-isolating, what all of the new rules mean, why we didn't close the borders, all the questions. And then on top of that, the people who are running businesses, the people who've been involved in Grand Prix, in AFL, understanding what the impact of this is on industry as well, and therefore on the economy, and therefore on the families. And I'm also a mum, and I have a child going to school, and still going to school with dwindling numbers. So there's teachers who are feeling like they're being made to be sacrificial lambs in that space. Sporting contexts that have been shut down and cancelled, and the impact on our kids. It's an unprecedented event, and it's reasonable for us to be anxious in relation to what's going on. What isn't necessarily reasonable is the way that we're dealing with that anxiety, and I think it's really important that we have a forum to be able to discuss how better to manage our mental health hygiene. And that's what I'd like to be able to have a conversation about today. And I think also offering some skills in relation to how we manage this better, because I think the degree to which we come out of this successfully is going to be determined by the degree to which we've managed our psychological well-being individually and collectively.
Yeah, I have the kids coming home this afternoon saying, Mum, we can't close the schools because if we do, it'll last for 6 months, which is a story that has circulated in the last 48 hours, I think. And of course, my response is, well, actually, nobody knows how long the schools are going to shut down for. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
But now, panic, which is perfectly appropriate, we tend to move toward trying to be the expert.
That's right.
Which means that, we send out these messages that have to be changed 5 minutes later because this is tap dancing on moving sands.
Yeah. And it's the sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
It's the nature of human beings to want to have certainty in their lives and to want to control their environment. And that's what we're seeing, is people trying to manage their anxiety through taking actions that they think give them some sense of control. Now, whether that's hoarding toilet paper or sanitizer or what that is, I've heard every story under the sun about how people are managing their anxiety. And often the way that we manage our anxiety brings us into conflict with other people. And this is what we need to be paying attention to, particularly if we're going into a period of self-isolation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether that actually helps or hinders, because, as we know, fear is such a contagious emotion. So I'm actually really interested, just from the psychological perspective, what happens when people stop talking as much. There is a chance that all of the conversation where we try and stabilise the anxiety just happens through social media. In my experience, not stabilising.
And it's not the conversations that we need to be having either. Trying to find someone to blame, trying to find someone who's doing something that we're not doing. They're useless conversations. The conversations we need to be having are with the people who are important to us in our lives, from whom we might need something at some point. Whether it be, I'm really stressed and I need someone to take some pressure off me, or I'm scared, or what do we need to do, what do we need to put in place. They're the conversations that we need to be having with the people who are immediately in our sphere.
Yeah, and the natural human resistance towards saying, I am feeling anxious, I am feeling vulnerable, I need help, and I need help in the following ways, could either be, this could be breakdown or breakthrough.
That's right.
If we find that every time now that we wash our hands, we take a moment, instead of just singing happy birthday twice, which is going to drive us all nuts, if we take that 2 minutes or 3 minutes to begin a regular self-soothing practice, then actually this could be a huge shift in the way that we manage ourselves and our world.
Yeah.
The years that follow.
Yeah. Because the energy at the moment is going out in relation to, I'm trying to control my world, versus actually what I need to do first is I need to be able to get some sense of management of what I have control over, which is myself.
Right. Yeah.
And my responses.
Yeah.
So the more that we are skilled in coming back to self and coming back to ground and being able to call on that space at will, the less likely we are to be run by our anxiety. So mindfulness is a fundamental tool for how we're going to manage and come out of this best.
Yeah. Why don't we do this? Because there's a lot that we could dig into, obviously, in the time that we've got, that we've allotted, arbitrarily, completely arbitrarily. Why don't we do this? Let's just do a quick self-regulation practice. And then have a bit more of a chit-chat about how to best manage ourselves in response to a situation which really is unmanageable.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can set up some resources on the website for the community. Okay. Let us do this. This is our web page. Oh, going back a little bit. No, I've gone the wrong way. I don't know how to get back. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. Here we go. The website is thelisteningproject.com. Further information there about the resources that we have available. A self-regulation practice and mindfulness technique at its core is simply about coming to rest with all of the chaos that can be on our mind at any given time. And if you have ever just sat around the campfire, you will know what a mindfulness practice is. So let me lead everyone, myself and us and everyone, through a short mindfulness practice that just helps us come back to equilibrium before we then go into a conversation where we talk about what we might do in response to all of the chaos. So the first thing that we do is take a moment to just be unavailable to the chaos. So you may want to close your eyes as you do that. You may want to simply defocus your eyes so that you have less of the chaos rushing into your nervous system, which can be quite reactive to overstimulus. So we either defocus our gaze or we close our eyes and bring our awareness and our attention, which may be scattered in a million different directions. Classic multitasking. We bring our awareness and our attention back to a single point of focus, and that is our breath. And so we first ensure that we're comfortable. You don't have to be in lotus position, but we simply allow our bodies to be resting comfortably, being held by the chair, or the floor. You may even notice that just that simple action of closing off from all of that chaos outside of our bodies is just slightly calming. Bringing your awareness and your attention to your breath. Rise and fall of the chest. Rise and fall of the belly. And it may take a while to notice the movement of your belly. Maybe that there are just micro movements in your belly as you breathe. Do nothing more for a moment than turn your attention to those micro sensations of breath. And in this process, we take ourselves off the hook from being responsible for phone calls, emails being answered, problems being solved, crises being averted. We very consciously give ourselves permission for 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes, to be unavailable to fix the world. And even as you sit and pay attention to your breath, you might also notice other data washing into your system. You might notice sounds in the room. might notice that your thoughts are racing. And even as you do that, just very simply, your awareness back to your breath. Gentle rise and fall of the chest. Gentle rise and fall of the belly. And you may even notice in this process that your tongue is reaching up to touch the roof of your mouth. And if that's true, simply give your tongue permission to rest on the floor of your mouth. And again, notice what happens when you do that. If you notice that there is more saliva in your mouth as a result of that, then you are doing perfect mindfulness practice. Allowing movement of fluids through the body helps bring the system into equilibrium. We are more resourced. We are allowing movement internally. And you may want to play with the notion of counting your breath. Counting from 1 through to 10 on every in-breath. And then down from 10 to 1. And just finishing the practice by noticing any sense of calm, or a little more spaciousness or ease that is available when we take ourselves off the hook for 2 or 3 minutes. And sometimes what happens when there is that spaciousness inside is that an intention or a thought or an affirmation may arise. How you bring more of that calm and equanimity back to your work, your practice, your world. So it may be the thought, I am a strong and intelligent being, and I intend to navigate the rest of my day with more calm. It's simply a reminder to ourselves that we need to reset in the midst of a fast-moving universe. Sometimes we simply need to let the world turn without us. And then we simply take a little bit of time to bring ourselves back into the here and now. And you may want to open your eyes at the end of that time. But bringing back a sense of calm, quiet, more resourcefulness in order to make better choices in the day-to-day world. I've been, as I think you have as well, Lyndall, I've been reading a lot about polyvagal theory, which is essentially the practice of managing our own autonomic nervous system. When our nervous system is out of whack, we're anxious and stressed, we make very poor decisions.
Very, very poor.
Very poor decisions.
I guess what you'd call mindless decisions rather than mindful. And that, I guess, is, if we were to put a foundational layer on everything we're talking about, it's how important it is to go out into the world and within your own experience in a mindful way at the moment, because your mental health is one of the most important things that we've got. And it's really important that we practice good mental health hygiene along with the physical hand washing. We really can't emphasize that enough. So much changes when we operate in a mindful way, and damage is done when we act mindlessly. So a really important sort of platform that we're going to build on from here.
We might, I'm thinking we might just do some regular bites of these on, so people can reconnect and build the practice, because it is a practice. It's a discipline. It's like we go to the gym. It's a discipline over time. Yeah. And when we most need to do it, we tend to forget because we're too busy.
Yeah.
We're too busy to do the things that are actually really fundamentally grounding and stabilizing for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from a grounded place, we've got the opportunity to make some different choices about what it is that we might need to do in response to how we're feeling. So the first opportunity that we have is to actually let ourselves feel what we're feeling rather than trying to avoid it. So it's completely normal, and everybody is struggling at the moment with what's going on. Nobody has it any better than anybody else. There's nobody in a better experience than the one that you're having, and there's no one that's getting something that you're not getting. It's exactly the same for everybody else. So if we can kind of start from there, then we can start to think about, so individually, what might make a difference to you. And I think one of the most important things, once we've not paid bloody lip service to our mental health, like once we've actually accepted that it's pretty fundamental, the next step is to try and keep your routines going as much as you can. Whether you're in self-isolation or you're not, it's really important to keep doing the things that you have access to for as long as you can, because there will come a point where you won't have access to some of those, and it's important to know how we manage that. And if you're in self-isolation, then, you know, maintaining routines like getting up in the morning, having a shower, having breakfast, going outside for a walk for an hour, because you will be able to get outside, and then coming back and starting work if that's what you're doing. But keeping a routine in your day, and particularly making sure that you've got exercise happening every day. I would recommend twice a day at least, and outside in the sunshine if you can, because the more that we keep our body moving, the better off we're going to be as well. And you can change how you're feeling by changing what your body's doing. So if you move your body differently, you will feel differently. From there, the choices become what works for you best. How does your life function best? And sometimes when we're a bit stressed, coming up with ideas about what would make us feel better beyond, you know, a quick fix is hard. So it's sometimes useful to have a list of things ready at hand that you could possibly do if you needed to make yourself feel better, a whole range of things that you like doing. And then the other list I'd have running would be, if I had time, I would, and whatever the answer to that is, because I think we've all got about 6,000 of those opportunities happening in our minds. And the final thing I'd kind of tip is, you know, try and notice the things that you can be grateful for. I was talking to a client in the UK, and she was talking about how the biggest thing going on is that everyone's getting to see what everyone's natural hair colour is, because there's no hairdressers.
That's very true.
So right now in Australia, we're able to be grateful for the fact that, you know, we can all pretend what our hair colour is. And that may change tomorrow, and will change again, and we'll be grateful for something different. But there is always something where we're actually in quite a privileged position in relation to what's happening. You know, make sure that you consume news and social media carefully. Yeah. You need to make good choices about whether it's helpful to you or not, and what are the best and most reliable ways for you to get information. So I don't want to overwhelm. There's lots of things that we can talk about in future opportunities. There's lots in this, but I think that's a good place to start from my perspective.
Yeah, beautiful. Just what you made me think of. There was a friend who posted on Facebook the link when, you might have seen this, when Susan Boyle, or that first audition that Susan Boyle had on.
America's Got Talent. No, Britain's Got one of those. Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know. One of those.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it for a while, but the rush of serotonin through my body as I saw that gorgeous, unsophisticated, totally raw, very socially, there is just nothing inauthentic about her. She just is who she is. But in that same lovely way that 4 and 5-year-old kids do, you know, she was talking that way, and yeah, to see to have that much impact, that profound impact on that many people. So beautiful. Yeah, and so if I am to do, I think if I was going to have an intention of anything that I would do in this next week, that is a good basic self-care practice, I intend to just, look at, because I do constantly click on save things on YouTube because they're lovely. I very rarely go back. So that'd be one of my things where if I had time, that's something that I can do daily. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's make sure that we put all of those, that as a framework, on the website, and then take it from there. We don't know how this will evolve, and if we did talk about exactly what we were going to do, then we'd be just going into that expert thing of trying to bark instructions at people.
Which we'd be very good at, by the way.
Really good at.
But we're trying to avoid.
We're trying to self-manage ourselves through this process.
That's right.
But yeah, we're thinking this is just a sort of introduction to the way that we think we'll be working. If it's useful, people can let us know. And if there are topics that people want to explore, they can let us know about that as well. And other than that, why don't we just have a checkout and a mindfulness checkout? And I shall start by saying, this is actually a really lovely way to finish a Friday, because I feel like I've sort of put it to bed. I've put the week to bed in a way that normally I don't. Generally, I just sort of slide into the weekend on the skin of my teeth. But this actually feels like it's a really nice bookend. And I am looking forward to being able to bring more of this work that you and I have found so useful and essential, bringing it to people who actually might now have more time to use it easily and effectively in their lives. That's me.
Yeah, I'm really grateful feel really grateful to have the opportunity and I guess the luxury of technology to even be able to do something like this, or more to the point, with a friend that we've been working with like this for ridiculous numbers of years, for a long time. And I really feel strongly about how important it is to provide information that's actually regulating and reassuring and helpful. And there's a lot of information out there at the moment, and I really would love for this to be a space for all of us where we get to feel like we understand something a little bit better, or we've let something go a little bit easier, or we've been able to say something a little bit more clearly. So that's how I'm feeling at the moment. Hopeful, I guess, and grateful.
Nice. All right. I'm going to stop the recording now. We'll see all you community people later. Next time.
Bye.